call the Charter Review Commission into order. Welcome to our April 22nd meeting of the Charter Review. This meeting is particular for the citizens of Daytona Beach. We truly want to hear your input into our charter and what we're doing here. Before we get started, I just want to lead us in prayer, even though it's not on the schedule. Most gracious Father, we thank you for this day, for life, health, and strength, and all the many blessings that you bestowed upon us. We ask that you be with us, help us to make decisions that's for the betterment of our city. We thank you for our staff, our employees, our commission, our city manager, and Father, those who protect us each and every day in the city, our fire department and police department. We give you the glory, the honor, and praise in Jesus' name. Amen. And can we pledge allegiance to the flag? John, would you lead us into the pledge?
Wrong side.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chief Driscoll will be going over the order of the meeting for this evening, for this town hall.
Good evening. So every 10 years in the city of Daytona Beach, a charter review commission is formed, which is comprised of local citizens representing each of our zones. This commission reviews the charter and propose amendments to the city commission for their consideration. Make sure that I'm on the microphone. After the City Commission reviews the proposals, if there are any selected of the proposals, the amendments will be presented to our citizens for a vote during the November 24 general election. Tonight, the Charter Review Commission would like to hear from you regarding any ideas that you have for amending the city's charter. Several ideas have already been submitted, which are available for you here tonight to review on the table and both posted on the board or on the wall, sorry. More information about the Charter Review Commission can be found on our city's website, and I believe there is a QR code on a flyer also at the front of the room. Before we get started tonight, though, we wanted to review what is the city's charter. And I apologize to the commission for hearing this for the 5th time or so. The U.S. Constitution is a document in which our citizens delegate powers to the federal government. The city charter, which we are reviewing tonight, serves a similar purpose only on a city's level. In government, a charter is the foundational document which establishes the framework of how local government works in terms of its structure, responsibilities, creation of departments, functions, services, and processes. If we know what is a charter, we should also know what is not a charter. The charter is not a document for changing zoning. Charter is not a document for requiring affordable housing, the building of parks, creating higher-paying jobs. The charter is not a place to solve local government issues or concerns. For the charter best practices, when considering an issue you feel needs to be addressed, you should ask yourself the following. Can this issue be resolved by the passage of an ordinance? Can this issue be addressed by an administrative measure? Does the mayor, commission, or city manager already have the authority to solve this issue? And might state legislation address this issue more efficiently than a change to the local charter? Again, the local charter is like our Constitution in that it's an important document which requires careful consideration before amending. For tonight's proceeding, the Charter Review Commission would love to hear your feedback. We ask that your comments stay on topic and as brief as possible to convey your point. At the end of the meeting, you will have an opportunity to offer recommendations to anything not currently on the charter. You will have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak, should you have any suggestions. If you prefer not to speak, comments may be written on comment cards which are available in the back of the room. The chair will moderate tonight's discussion. I ask that you come forward to the microphone if you wish to speak, and you will be called upon in an orderly fashion. Please silence your cell phones and limit side conversations that everybody may hear the items being discussed this evening. Tried to steal your phrase. As we go around the room, our city clerk, Letitia LaMagna, We'll paraphrase your comments and write them on the easel. Please don't worry, all your comments are being documented in their entirety. And are there any questions before we begin? It's all yours, Mr. Chair.
Okay. At this time, we would like for each board member to introduce themselves and tell us what zone you represent. And we'll start with Zone 6.
Thank you. Good, it is 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ida Wright, and I represent Zone 6.
Good evening and happy Earth Day. I'm Terry Melia. I represent Zone 7, I believe. Five. I just got here.
Harry Lloyd, I represent District 4.
Ann Ruby, I represent Zone 1.
I'm surprised I remember my name.
It's on, I think.
Light's not on, sorry about that. Paul Zimmerman, Zone 2.
Chris Polar, Zone 3.
And my name is Steve Miller, and I'm representing the Honorable Mayor Derrick Henry. At large, citywide. At this time, we welcome, we would like to hear from outstanding citizens of Daytona Beach. As you stated, staff will be taking notes of whatever you say will be part of our proposal. And if you don't get a chance to say anything, there's notes on the back of the room. You can always write down whatever you like to share with us. At this time, Ms. Magnus.
Ted Hordecki, 113 Braddock Avenue, Daytona Beach, 32118. I see this is quite a bit of material, and I've been going to meetings and listening to what people say, and I hear a lot of good ideas, but there's a couple things I don't think are very good. First and foremost, I think it takes more than 2 years for a term, just because I don't think you could, even if you're on the, pretty sharp, it takes quite a bit to realize what goes on. There's a lot of people who have been in City Hall a long time, sometimes have a blank look on their face, believe it or not. I think they should be 3-year terms, and you can't do more than 2 consecutive terms, which would be a total of 6 years. At which time, you have to run, you can't go over 2 terms, a total of 6 years. Then you gotta leave for a term. And if you wanna come back again and run again and you win, then you could do 3-year terms from then on. And that way I believe you won't have people that are, I think fresh blood is good, but I think they need a learning curve to get in City Hall. Otherwise, you're gonna have city staff making all the decisions. Because 2 years is not enough time to find out where everything's at, where, what goes where, who runs what. Because there's a lot of working parts in City Hall from what I see. And that's about the only comment I got.
John Nicholson's our next speaker.
John Nicholson, 413 North Granbury Avenue. Got a couple of things. Yes, I absolutely believe that we should end up with 4-year terms.
Hold it this way.
2 years is just not enough. Secondly, with regard to the charter, I know Drew said that it's not about the redistricting, but the charter says it does.
I did not say that.
That's what it appeared.
It's about zoning.
Like
Zoning?
land
Yeah,
Plan.
zoning and redistricting are exactly the same thing.
No, they're not.
The zoning,
2 different terms.
As the author of my speech, I'll say zoning as land zoning. The zoning
it's
of
like in land
property.
development code zoning?
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm thinking of 6 commission zones. Because the charter, Article 2, Section 2, Item C says the city commission shall, by ordinance, pass by 3/5 vote, redesignate the boundaries of each zone after each and every annexation and each decennial census conducted by the U.S. There've been 50, 60, 70 annexations since I've been here, and they've never even discussed redistricting, all right? So if we're not going to follow the charter, then I suggest we take this out of the charter. I know that they voted for the last 3 censuses, not the district on time. They've always been late. They're the only one of the 17 political entities in the county. Daytona Beach was the only one that could not do it on time in this last census. We waited 3 years. We grew tremendously in the 3 years. We have 2 of our zones that are, almost 10,000 people out, so they're 90% in non-compliance. So we might as well throw out the whole thing. If it's not going to be in our charter, then we shouldn't do it. Going with Ann's stuff. Yes, I believe we should speak at the first reading. What happens is, if there's any question, at the second reading, they have seconds to make a decision. Nobody can compute what somebody is saying, what the terms, whether it's valid or not, to make a decision, and they're making a decision that can't be changed. So I agree with Ann wholeheartedly that if we've got to speak at the first one, they have 2 weeks to find out whether we're valid or not, whether there is a possibility that they are not knowledgeable enough to pass it. So I'm asking you to do that. Secondly, there are people that don't want to sit. I know at the county council you have to sit 8 to 10 hours to speak at the end. If you don't get to the first reading, public speaking, you have to wait 8 to 10 hours. People have busy lives. I'm retired. I can sit my butt in that chair like I do for 40 years, but not everybody has that opportunity. So I'm asking you, definitely recommend that they offer them the opportunity to speak first so they can go home with their families and do the things that they really have to do. Thank you.
My name is William Biddorf. I live at 402 East International Speedway Boulevard. The one thing I wanted to say is that if we push our commissioners, I know how hard it is to campaign for commissioner. I'm sure most of you all do sitting on that board. And I don't want them spending more time campaigning than doing their job for us. The second most important thing is really whether they get reelected or not. I think the term limits really shouldn't be, because it's really the voters that are electing them. They're not able to elect themselves. I think more or less making people more aware. Other than that, I said the term limit's a 50-50 on either way, to be honest with you. But it should be 4 years, because we're sort of gonna hit the Achilles heel of ourselves, and it's gonna be impossible for that commissioner, because he or she is always gonna be in campaign mode, in my opinion. And that was about it. I can't follow my colleague here, my friend. So he's a little bit sharper. But thank you very much.
Vern Weatherholt, 3 Granville, so Daytona Beach. I originally talked at one of the first meeting about term limits at 2 years, but I've had a thought about, I think it should be 4 years. I think that gives them enough time to learn the job. Of course, most people that run for city commission are active in the city anyways. But I think that there should be term limits. I think that people get, once they get in place, I think all the commissioners and the mayor should be limited to 2 terms. And I think that gives more people an active role of being a commissioner, if they choose that. And I think that gives them enough time to, if they have an agenda to something that they would like to pass, I think that gives them more than enough time to do it, or they're not doing their job to start off with. And one thing I was kind of hoping the city attorney would be here about they're redoing the districts or the zones. You know, we do it every 10 years with the census. And I didn't know whether that was a state law or a federal law or whatever, I think that we should have the opportunity to, if we need to do a census on some of the areas that's growing, impacting, it's going out of hand in some of the zones. We're a growing city, and it's coming up, we're growing fast. I know in the past years that I've lived here, it's come up very fast. And 10 years is a long time. So I think that if it's legally possible, I think we should consider reviewing that every 5 years. That would kind of split the terms and everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask a question? Are you, sir, excuse me, sir, are you proposing that the city perform its own census every 5 years?
If that's what it takes, yes, because when we allow it, that we still don't have with the 20 census, it wasn't even talked about till 2 years later, and they didn't know the accuracy then. So I think if we're a large enough city, we can do our own census and make it accurate and know exactly how many residents we have, and I'd go by somebody else.
Yeah, it's the growth seems to happen in spurts, and by areas. And it appears now that Zone 4 is going to be taking on a lot of population in the coming years. It already has, so.
I've lived here over 12 years. I live on Beachside. We're not going to have a lot of heavy growth on Beachside. But all the surrounding areas that's coming up, coming before the planning board, you'd be surprised. I mean, I'm a general contractor and a developer, and I'm amazed how many people or how much they're proposing on building in Daytona Beach right now. And so that's going to change the dynamics of the city. And, I don't think we're pretty much locked in on, what we can annex, with the boundaries that we have now. So I think that we should look into that, and I would like to know, and matter of fact, I'll probably ask tomorrow at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
So where are you at?
Anybody else want to speak? Have a suggestion?
Evelyn Rodriguez, Molly Road, Daytona Beach.
I
I too have a little, I'm like really torn between this because originally I said 2 years. As I said before, if the commissioner is active during those 2 years, there's no reason for that commissioner to be campaigning because the people will know that commissioner. However, as a lot of people say, it's a very short time. I think 4 years is too long. However, I work with the elections every time we have elections. I work with the elections board. And so that's a little difficult if you have a 3-year election to kind of have the supervisor of election, because I know years ago we had to have that. Years ago, the Department of Election, the supervisor election had to do a complete special election for the city of Daytona. So I know that's kind of a conflict. So I would go with 4 years. I still like the 2 years, but definitely term limits. Definitely term limits.
4 years?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't stand up last time, I apologize. I definitely agree with the 4 years. There's a lot of reasons why, because if you do it every 2 years, it's going to be very expensive, because I'm sure it costs us to get the votes counted and things of that nature as an expense. The only thing that has been on the fence is how will it improve things if we have the term limits? Maybe it will, maybe it won't, because it's really the people that really elect each person. Somebody could say, well, this guy's done 3 terms, or this lady's done 4 terms. But if the people don't elect them, they can't get reelected. That's my concern. I don't know where to matter too much.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wants to? Charter tonight?
I believe that's it.
Okay, great. Well, we'll have,
Do we want to introduce the alternates for here?
alternatives are here. Please stand and introduce yourself.
Alternates.
Alternates.
Alternatives.
Alternates.
You're alternatives.
My man had to go to.
I'm Katina Brown. I'm the alternate for Zone 5.
Sandy Murphy, alternate for Zone 1.
Bill Kamer, alternate for Zone 4.
That's it.
Chris was there.
Great. At this time, we'll hear closing remarks from our board members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, thank you, citizens, for coming out. I'm glad to hear your input. I've taken copious notes, and we look forward to the discussion. But thank you for coming out and your input.
Thank you, Terry Melia, again. I reiterate what Ida has to say. Just hearing from you and seeing Mr. Royster felt that you had changed your mindset from 2 to 4, but with term limits, that really helps us get another idea of what direction people want us to go or subject.
It appears to me that term limits are front and center, and it has been, on our first commission meeting, it came up ourselves. So I think there's a definite focus that's required for us to look at that long and hard. The hurdle that we look at, or what I think we should think about, is after they serve their 2 terms, then is that a pause period appropriate, or or are they done? Or if they move to another district, do they get able to run again? There are things that we need to chew on, but it seems to me that some blend of that and term limits has got to be front and center for the commission. And I thank you all for reinforcing what we recognized in that first meeting.
Ms. Ruby?
Yeah, thank you all for coming. It was very nice to see you all. I think for me, the public comment piece is really important, that that general public comment be enshrined by charter within the confines of the meeting. At the end, at the beginning, that can change, but it should be enshrined as something that has to be done within the confines of the City Commission. And I would hope that that's something that you all could get behind, as well as the public comment at first reading on the land use. So those are kind of my 2 big passion projects.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Thank you all for coming out. I wanted to clarify one thing that Mr. Nicholson was asking about or speaking on, and that was the charter requirements that the redistricting take place, and you suggested that we eliminate that portion of the charter, or possibly eliminate that portion of the charter. I would say that we need to abide by it and strengthen it if possible, because it's a really important piece of the charter as far as making sure that we're not 2 and 3 years behind where our zone should be as our city grows. That the zoning aspect is going to be critical. So you're in favor of strengthening that portion of the charter. Okay. I'm hearing that campaigning is somehow a burden for an elected official. And I don't think that is what I don't see campaigning as a burden for an elected official. I'm concerned about 4-year terms. I think they're too long. I like Mr. Is it Hideki? But the problem with the 3-year term is we get out of cycle and there would be special elections. We'd only hit the general election every once in a while when we got to 6 years. So that's a complication and a cost. But I think that somewhere I'm not in favor of 4-year terms, I'll say that right now. I think we need to stay to 2-year terms. I do not think that having a candidate campaign, and what is campaigning? Campaigning is getting with the people that you represent. Is that a penalty? Is that something we should avoid? That is exactly what a representative is supposed to do. You know, so I don't see campaigning every other year, or, you know, every 2 years as a burden. I see the possibility of getting somebody in office for 4 years, that after 2 years, we realize we've made a mistake, and then we're stuck with that person for another 2 years. If the burden is campaigning, do we want the burden to be on the elected official or the representatives of the citizens of Daytona Beach getting stuck with somebody they don't want and that is failing to do their job for 2 years? I would rather look at the situation as, let's have that person campaign every 2 years rather than get stuck with somebody for 4 years. Okay? So I'm not in favor of a 4-year term. I'm very much in favor of term limits, but not 4-year terms. Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you for the comments. You know, it's good to hear things that are coalescing within it, and I look forward to our discussions as a commission as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Hey, on behalf of the mayor and the entire city commissioners, we want to thank you guys for coming out to participate. We have another town hall meeting, which will be on the 25th at the Yvonne Scarlett Golden Center at 6 o'clock. Tell your friends, and again, we want to thank you guys for coming out. You know, I haven't really commented on my opinion about our term limits, how many years. I kind of feel that 4 years is, I just know that, and I was elected city commissioner. It took me approximately a year, probably a year and a half to realize what I was doing, where I was going, and what was ridiculous to even mention at the commission meeting. So I'm one to think of the 4-year term. Campaigning is really a tough animal, and when do you get to really legislate for the people? And I think that the comments that I've heard throughout these meetings have been very interesting, and I'm quite sure that they may find themselves a way to the commissioners, and I think the commissioners determine what happens, and I guess we'll find out what we can do even if they decide not to honor our request. But again, I just want to say thank you for each and every one of you guys, staff, anything that you all need to.
Wait 1 second. Did we have a late arrival? Did he want to comment?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Bishop, how you doing, Carol? Have you looked at anything on the Charter Review Commission that you want to discuss, or no comments? Okay.
Okay.
Well, we just want to acknowledge your presence. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I don't want to take any more of your time, but this is directed to Mr. Driscoll.
Speak up with the microphone.
Eat the microphone.
Yeah, just closer to your.
Now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you know, with the charter review, it's up to the commission whether they would take any of these as a suggestion or whatever. You know, what I was wondering, if you would say if they choose not to take any of these up, what would be the next course? I think I know, but I would like for you to let the audience know what their alternative is.
Yeah, amendments to the charter could be proposed by ballot petition with a 10% of the city's electorate signing for that proposal, and then therefore it would have to be included onto the next ballot, general election ballot, yes.
What would be the cutoff date of that?
That, they probably wouldn't, if you were to do one tomorrow, I don't know if you would make the cutoff for 2024, but 26.
Yes. The next meeting.
Thursday night.
This Thursday.
Thursday night at Scarlett Golden Center.
They do have planning board that same evening, but we were having the town hall that evening too.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, in Article 2, Section 2, subsection C, regarding the annexation and amending of the zoning districts, those are done by 3/5 vote on ordinance at each annexation of the city. They're included in the nearest zone.
Thank you. Mr. Deputy City Manager, recourse that we have for commissioners if they're not doing their job, do we have a recall policy here in the city?
There is an election recall
There is.
procedure that, yes.
What is that? Do you have an idea
I
what
don't
the
have
procedure?
it right in front of me, but yeah, there is, I can get
We'll
the
have it at
information out.
could you have it at the next meeting? I would like to hear that. But
challenging.
But ladies, John, you have,
Yeah, Drew, is that 10% citywide, or is it 10% each zone? And is it 10% of the 70,000, which is the number that we did the redistricting on? Or the current,
Registered voter.
Yes.
Registered
Oh,
voter.
registered
Not a
voter.
registered voter, then you are.
and it doesn't have to be zone-wide?
No.
No.
See, and that's the thing, all these people moving into town.
but ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you guys for coming out. The meeting is dismissed.